Hello and welcome to the Canadian North. In step 7 we install these vertical booms and I started to think about the rigging, because now we keep installing all kind of stuff on the deck, but at some point in the future, and I know many people do this as the last step, in the future we'll have to install some rigging, and those lines, I'm thinking, how am I going to install them when say the railing will be in place and a lot of other objects will be crowding the deck. What I did for my other model, for the gunboat, I installed the end of the lines, the end of the rigging lines. I started them from the deck well in advance of installing other things, and they were just left there, but at least I got to install those ends when almost nothing was on the deck. It was easy to manipulate. I'm afraid if I don't do that while trying to install the lines at the very end, I'm gonna start damaging the model. But for that to be possible, I have to think and I have to look at some pictures and eventually at what other people did for the rigging. How many lines, where, and so on. It takes quite a planning to be able to prepare in advance for the rigging. Now, in order to study a bit the rigging of the real ship in the 1903-1904 configuration, I found this picture, which is actually great for rigging, and I zoomed it quite a lot, especially for the stern part of the ship, for the aft part of the ship, which I consider more difficult than the bow. So I zoomed it and I compared it to this picture, which shows the Tsesarevich in Tsingtao right after the Battle of Yellow Sea, and I was able to compare the lines and to see in more details, while zooming of course, where some of these lines, the stern, they arrive on the upper deck. So the object of my study was not the rigging in its entirety for the entire ship, was only the lines that happen to arrive on the upper deck, especially at the stern, because there are many lines at the stern, but there are some lines at the bow, and then we have something in the middle, but I don't think we are right there for now. So for now I'm gonna talk about the stern part. And for the stern part, it was easy to see that we have these 4 lines, the red ones, going on the second mast, right under the horizontal arm. There is something like a ring over there, and these 4 red lines, they go at that ring. Then we have a blue line at the left of the picture. We have a blue line going at the peak of that yard arm. That's perpendicular to the mast, but it's in the plane, in the longitudinal plane of the ship. That blue line goes at the peak of that yard. There is, of course, another line coming from the upper deck and going to the peak of the second horizontal arm. There is a magenta line coming from the upper deck and going to the base of that inclined yard arm. There is another light green line going to the peak of the first horizontal arm, and there is a dark green line coming from just outside the secondary turret and going under the platform here on the mast. So I color them differently to have an idea which line is doing what, and this is for one side only. So whatever you see here colored, of course it's gonna have to be repeated at the other side of the ship. Now going towards the bow, we encounter these rigging lines coming from the 2 masts and from the funnels of the ship, coming towards the upper deck. But I'm not sure at all they will arrive at the upper deck level, which is quite low in that part of the ship. I think many of them will arrive on the superstructure, which we didn't install yet. And even if I make a plan, and even if I start installing the ends of those lines at the upper deck level, the superstructure that comes later might be in the way for those lines. So I will choose to ignore those lines in the midship part for now. So I'll have to focus on the bow part and see what lines in the bow section go from the various masts to the upper deck. So for the bow section of the ship, we have one pair of red lines coming from the upper deck and going under the observation platform of the mast. We have other lines coming from the upper deck between the turret and the conning tower and going to the horizontal arm of that mast, right about where that guy is working, is climbed over there and appears to be working over there. These are the blue lines. we have the green lines coming from the upper deck at the base of that small strut that we installed already, and going all the way to the mast under the platform. And I think that yellow line is actually two lines going each side of the platform. We'll see about that. We have the orange line, the long line, coming from the base of the bowsprit and going to almost to the top of the first mast. And we have the black lines linking the top of the small strut to the bottom of the bowsprit, and then continuing to the bridge, to the base of the bridge. But that second black line we don't have to worry about for now, because we didn't install the bridge yet, so it's gonna be a while. But all the other ones, I should better install them at the upper deck level right about now, because otherwise, as I explained, there are gonna be other objects in the way, and installation with all the glue and everything is gonna get only more difficult.